weekly Dogs Down South podcast. I'm your host, Ted Turner, and we have not been together in a while. I got my man Fish here with me. It's our first time back since SEC Championship. Fish, how you doing, man?
I'm great. Weather, it's nice and cool. Can't wait for some playoff football to start.
It's cool. It ain't cool here, man. It is cool here. I should take it back. It's warming up here a little bit. We saw some cool. I know you guys saw some frigid, so I won't
Oh yeah.
say much about cold weather. So our 30s and 40s were you guys 10s and 20s. So
Oh my
yeah,
God.
man.
Yep.
So yeah, man. It's gonna be. We haven't chat since the SEC championship, and obviously, dog fans obviously know Georgia comes out. I don't know if we conquer the postseason Alabama Giant, right? I mean, we've done that before. Seems like Georgia teams that show up now in the postseason against an Alabama team, we're starting to put it together. I think with obviously just recently 2026 scheduling rolling out, we'll get to see Alabama again next year in
Yep.
Tuscaloosa. So we'll continue to see. I think one thing I will tell you is that you know what, if we continue to lose to Alabama during the regular season and beat them in the postseason when it matters, I don't know, Fish. What about you? I mean, I guess I'll just take that, right?
I can live with that if I have to. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, man, it's wild. So yeah, dogs on top, SEC champs. Lots have gone on. We're going to stick to Georgia tonight, but as we know, I mean, dog fans. I mean, there's so much going on. I think this is going to be the new norm, right? I mean, with portal, I mean, I'm hearing over 35 now plus Division One coaching changes either happening in the mix of happening or still undecided whether some of these coaches, even after bowls, are deciding that we don't even know who's kind of holding out to kind of say, hey, we're changing, the tides, and
Yep.
some of these teams are trying to keep their recruiting classes together, but they're going to make a change possibly still that they haven't even announced, and so a lot of that going on. Portal, even though the portal doesn't open up until a little while from now in January. A lot of people already declaring for the portal. The portal's already busy.
Yep.
And then as we know, bowl games are going on. Playoffs are right around the corner. We're going to pick those games tonight. Fun times. Got a Friday and a Saturday slate of playoff games that are
Ooh.
going to be really good games. I even think some of these, JMU and Tulane games that they might be better than we think. I mean, as you always say, it's different when it comes playoff time. You can't look and go, all right, whatever success we had during the regular season, I think we can say it's all hands on deck for every team in the playoffs that they're going to give their all. They're going to put it all on the line. But
Yep.
um, just hopping in, Fish. Obviously Georgia. We're going to talk a lot of playoffs tonight. We're going to stick to the main thing. We are in the thick of everything, obviously, and Georgia has a bye. But first off, let's hop out. Let's throw some icebreaker things out, Fish. Really quick. As far as the draw, like, how did you feel like the playoff committee did with the draw, and how do you feel about Georgia's third? The third ranking, and that they got down to the bottom of that bracket.
No, we should have moved up. We should have been number 2 in front of Ohio State. But they did that, so there's a potential rematch for Indiana, Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
For that drama. And Tulane, Ole Miss. I don't know. I feel like when you get rematches in the playoff, it feels intentional to me.
Right.
We're set up for a rematch with Ole Miss, and I don't know. And how does BYU drop 3 spots? I mean, come on. You can say about losing to the same team in that kind of fashion all you want, but Bama doesn't move, BYU drops out. They did that just to make room for them. Ohio State doesn't move. Well, they obviously flip flop with Indiana, but like, I don't understand the criteria, and we don't need to get into that because I feel like that's a
Yeah.
whole show, and enough people have
Yeah.
talked about it. You
Yeah.
know, but still, like, I don't know. I'm cool with it. Whatever is whatever. We're gonna beat whoever we play. That
Yeah.
defense is legit. They're on fire.
Yeah.
Kirby can keep them motivated for 3 weeks, dude. I don't know. I don't know who's going to beat us.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, a lot of people, I would say this is probably the worst committee we've ever had.
Easy
It's
with
bad.
Hunter Yurachek, dude. Come on, get out of
Yeah.
here.
Yeah. It's bad. It's really bad. And, I don't know. I will say this, you're correct. I don't want to get too far off on a tangent, but it's just like it didn't make sense how they stacked some things. I don't really care. I'm glad you said that because I did not think about it that way as far as wanting to slate Ohio State and Indiana, thinking, okay, you're thinking that maybe they're looking at it as, well, who do we think are the best two teams in the country? And maybe they're thinking Indiana, Ohio State is, and we've seen that game. It was close,
Yep.
and for all they know, they should be like, well, does Ohio State need another chance at that? And for me, I think, with keeping Notre Dame out, is that weird? No, I mean, I don't think keeping Notre Dame's out is weird. I mean,
Nope.
but keeping them out when they didn't play and Miami didn't play was the weird part, right? So Miami didn't play, Notre Dame didn't play, and everybody's had a good comment about this. Is, well, why didn't that change previous week? When they
It's
they
when they
played,
lost. It's
yeah,
when they lost. Notre Dame lost their first two in a row, and then Miami dropped in the middle of the season. They lost two in a row in the middle of the season. So how can you not punish a team a little bit for losing 2 weeks in a row? That's
right,
why Miami jumped them. And and I'll give the dude from Arkansas a little credit. He did say that the final ranking, like people, that's when people are going to shift. He did say that.
mhm,
Okay, he said it. And, of course, it came down to head because they bumped BYU out for losing their conference championship game when Bama didn't lose a spot.
right,
Anyway, I got my own opinions about that. But still, like, it didn't make it kind of makes sense. But,
yeah,
coming from, Notre Dame, crybaby, we're the best thing around. We're all college football. We're our crap doesn't stink almost, like why is it, they just take it, you dropped out, you should have won the games. Clark Lee said it best. We had our chances.
right, right,
Okay. If we didn't do what we needed to do in the season to make the playoff, we'll come back next year and win the whole damn thing.
right,
That's the best attitude to have about that. But Notre Dame, bunch of crybabies, man, get out of here.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, you got to get into it. They're just continuing to push themselves in a corner because you're going to get teams that go, well, I'll tell you what, if you're guaranteed a spot, if you're in the top 12 next year, then we just won't play you. I mean, you're starting to see schools and universities and coaching staffs that go, we're seeing the committee is not really valuing the strength of schedule like they said. So obviously, you've seen some things like Georgia, who, not that Georgia's worried about, I think, losing to Louisville, but Georgia takes Louisville off the schedule. You see Texas talking about trying to buy that game out next year with Ohio State. Don't put it past them. I mean, Texas gets what Texas wants when they bring money into play. And you
Yep.
look at other games that are being solidified and are coming off the slate. I mean, Georgia this year has, scheduling wise, I think Georgia has, and that's a whole other show as well, but I think Georgia has another tough go at it, man. Like I feel like it's relentless for Georgia.
Yep.
We've never had that pansy Texas or Alabama slate, and but you know what? We've drawn this for the past 2 or 3 years, and I remember earlier this year going, this is not, and I will continue to say this. This is not Kirby's most talented team he's ever had, but they are playing at a high level now. Some people grew up.
Ellis.
Some things are happening. They're finding some playmakers. We're getting some injuries turned back around. People are getting playing experience, game time experience, and I just believe that Kirby's continuing to do things that maybe this tough schedule every year is treating us right, and maybe we're on the right side of those scores sometimes, but it's helping us instead of maybe playing some of the schedules like an Alabama did the past few years or Texas did, and it's kept them either borderline almost out, and Texas did, get pushed out. So I don't know, man. At the end of the day, I just think you know it's coming more and more down to what do you respect as far as the strength of schedule and what's going to get you, what's going to get you what you need to get the experience for these players so that they can play in those big games later on in November. But also, what's a game that you don't have to play in early September to go, all right, this is going to come back to bite us, which obviously Texas and Ohio State, if you put McNeese State where Texas was, where Ohio State was, I mean, you got to feel like a two-loss Texas team maybe makes it in over who knows, maybe in Alabama, maybe in Miami, who knows,
Yep.
But let's recap some things. So, Fish, tell me this, couple questions here. So as we get into the playoff season, Georgia's on a bye. When we look back over the season, what do you think, if Georgia wins it all this year, which win do we talk about the most 5 years from now? In other words, like when we talk about if Georgia hoists that trophy this year on a year where I think you can look at not a lot of big time, talk coming out of Georgia other than Georgia's going to be Georgia and they're going to vie for an SEC championship. And depending on where they're at, it's Kirby Smart. That's all you heard at the beginning of the year. But now we're here, right? And we're a team, we're a top, they call us the top tier. They're looking at Ohio State, Indiana, Georgia as that top tier to win the national championship.
Yep.
What game do we look back on this year and really go, that's the one that set the table for this national championship? And we don't, unless we're not going to include playoffs, obviously, because we haven't played a game. But what about the regular season and the SEC championship? Like, what do you think? Where do you think that game was that really pushed us to go? If we look back, this is the one that switched everything for us.
Well, you want to say the Alabama game, of course. Not the loss, but the SEC championship. But that was very recent. So, like, as far as like back in the season, I think Tennessee was really important. I think winning that game is where we got the moniker "hard to kill," and that kind of lit a fire under us a little bit. And that's also where I learned that Gunner could throw the ball, like could actually be a quarterback that we can count on if the chips are down and the game hasn't necessarily been going the way we need it to go on the defensive side of the ball. That he can take us to where he can keep us in the game. And he did that in the beginning of the season. He kept us in a lot of those games. Ole Miss and Tennessee kind of like right next door to each other as far as that goes, to answer that question. I know you said one, but I think those are pretty close. I think that's 1A and 1B.
Yeah. I look back actually, and I like Tennessee. I mean, it was a tough one for me. I looked at this, but I think it was actually, if I had to pick, I think it was the Alabama loss. I think that was a game that, we looked back on it. I remember how we covered that game and we had our feelings about it at first. We were like, we can't get past Alabama. Why do we make that play call? Why doesn't Kirby take the field goal and live to play another down? But, when you look at it, I think you go back and you look at what this team's been built off this year and there's another question later on, but what may be coming our way. And these playoffs are going to be full of tough, tight games. And you look at Georgia, when you look at Indiana and you look at Ohio State and some of these teams, you look at Georgia and you go, man, how many times they've been battle tested in the SEC this year to where if it comes down to that, even in the loss though, right? Even in the loss, we found out a lot about ourselves and we found out that no matter what, we could run the football against any team in the country. That's what we came out of Alabama going, because we knew if we could run it against them, it felt like Cade Womack and Alabama's defense was definitely top 5 this year, regardless of if it was at the run or pass. But I also think out of that game, the one big thing that we added to, never being out of a game is I think Kirby grew up a little bit. You noticed that the trend of towards the end of the year, when the defense started getting better, you wonder behind the scenes if Kirby backed out of that room a little bit. And he started talking about a lot in the last 4 games about how that's Schumann's defense, right? So you start to wonder, man, maybe Schumann was struggling because Kirby was too involved, and maybe Kirby was being too involved was making him struggle because this was a younger team and he needed to really be coaching from the top.
Yep.
Maybe that was where everything changed, because he talked about that even in the SEC championship. He said it. He said, that's Schumann's defense. That's not my defense. Yep. That's Schumann's. And so I'm
Yeah.
thinking right there that when he made those calls and he maybe missed those executive director calls, I think he had a little bit of a mid year. Hey, like I'm the head coach of this team. I have a defensive coordinator. I need to trust what he's doing, trust Bobo, and I need to make sure I'm in. And I felt like when we had round 2 at Alabama, you could feel like Schumann had their number. You felt like Bobo had their number, and you felt like Kirby. Even I mean, man, even from down to the onside kick call, right? When you go back to that was Georgia Tech, right?
Texas.
Texas, sorry, yeah, Texas. I mean, you look at those last 3 games, like I don't know if Kirby's head's in the defensive playbook if he's calling an onside kick right there. So
Yeah,
I
no.
think that was an important game, even though it was a loss. I mean, there hadn't been many losses for Georgia to hang their cleats on, knock on wood. But when we do, man, we learn a lot from them. But I like Tennessee too. I mean, dude, we talked about Tennessee's being a game early in the year, first SEC opener at Neyland. What were we going to expect? And we got every bit of it that game, and we
Yep.
learned a lot quick. I remember seeing
Yep.
the first 2 games of the year, and we were like, "Can Gunner throw the ball, or they're just not? They're just not really opening the playbook up." I think
The
it was a
Austin
little bit
P
of
game
both.
was ugly.
Yeah, but I wonder if that was now that I see what Gunner can do. I think we were just trying to figure out where he would be the most comfortable, right? And
Yep.
it's never been stretching the field, although we'll have opportunities. I saw a stat about Zachariah Branch, and help me remember he dropped a lot of balls last year. Um, I'm having a brain fart. Wide receiver.
Dylan Bell.
Uh, no, he left, went to the pros. Um, man, fast. Arian Smith. So Arian
Oh,
Smith,
Arian.
if you
Yeah.
looked, they actually ended up. Arian Smith had more yards this time last year than Zach Branch does this year, but less catches. So what does that tell you? Arian was able to. We were able to stretch the field a little more last year with Arian, but Zach's had to do a lot with what we're trying to do with Gunner. And Gunner, stretching the field has not been one of those things this year that we've been able to do. But hey, man, we have 30 days to figure out how to look different, and I think we will. I mean,
I think Branch stretches the field in a different way. Sorry,
yeah, no,
than
no,
Arian does, like east to west more than north to south. Does that make
mm-hmm,
sense?
mm-hmm,
Because you can just you can just whip
yeah,
that ball out to him, and he's going to make a few moves, and he's going to get 5, 6, 7, 8 yards. I
yeah,
mean, he rarely doesn't turn one of those screens into a positive gain.
yeah. What about I mean, when you look at how we've won some games this year, I don't would you first off, would you say this is not on here. We didn't talk about this one, but when you look back at some of these close games, was there any just ugly games this year that we won but it was ugly? I don't I tried to look back and go, was it just ugly? Other than you might have considered Austin Peay because it wasn't the blowout when we thought it would be. But but the close games that we had, I didn't really think there was any like those mediocre, ugly wins from 2 years. 2 years
Yeah,
ago, yeah, man, there was some ugly wins. What
yeah.
do you think? Was there any ugly wins that you go back and look at and just kind of shake your head at?
Uh, just Austin P comes to mind just because I was there, and
Right.
like the rain. It was a long delay. We left at
Uh,
halftime because of the rain. Um, but not being able to punch the ball in against a team like that, no offense to them, but not being able to punch the ball in first and goal on the 1 yard line,
uh-huh.
okay, four attempts to try to get the ball in the end zone and couldn't do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like that, that's when I was nervous.
Right.
That actually made me really nervous going into Tennessee and Bama, back to back. And, I was very, very worried about that Tennessee game. And like I said, that's kind of another reason why I went with that game, as my game of the year to remember 5 years from now.
Mm-hmm.
Because we grew up a lot, like the offense, kind of that's when we got rolling as
Yeah.
far on that side of the ball.
Yeah. I can't agree more. I cannot agree more. Would you? I would. That one comes to mind, but yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. I just didn't think there was a lot of. I think there were some close games. I think our and we'll talk about it later on in keys to get through these playoffs. But I think our secondary grew up a lot, right?
A lot. Yep.
I think Ellis Robinson became somebody who everybody used to call his name about being a liability, and now he is
Not
doing some things
anymore.
that are incredibly effective. His name's
Yep.
getting called for, like, you know, we tend to, a lot of these SEC podcasts are already trying to figure out what next year looks like, right? And schedules coming out for the SEC next year, and we're already talking about how the secondary even returns a lot of great players with KJ Bolden and Ellis Robinson and DeMello Jones, and I mean this team is good this year. This team is
Yep.
going to be great next year. I mean,
I think
so
so.
not to get ahead of ourselves. So, but yeah. So, and then last question, like when you look at, um, like we already know, I think that Kurt, this is one of, you know, a little bit more of a mentally tough team this year for Kirby rather than a talent driven team, right? But if you had one word to describe Georgia right now, what is it and why?
Mm, Got to be first part of the season. I think there's two different choices, but I'm going to go with grit.
Yeah.
You
Okay.
know, being able to take punches, take teams' best shots, and be right there with a chance to win the game every
Yeah.
time. You know, Rocky Balboa. That's that's my comparison, my celebrity comparison for Gunner.
Yeah.
Like tough, 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 extremely tough mentally and physically.
Yeah.
That physical part, especially on the defensive side, dude. Like, remember um, during that first championship run, we played Michigan in our first playoff game, and we made JJ McCarthy and that other boy just just
Hmm.
quit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like they hadn't been hit like that all year. And I
Uh-huh.
saw that like that when I watched us, like go after Ty and Arch in the Texas and the Bama games at the end of the year.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
I saw a little of that. Flustered
Yeah.
quarterback sitting there, on the sideline, like not, just not like, wow, man, can you believe, like, just like you could see the look on their face, like they couldn't believe how hard that dude just hit them,
Right.
you know?
Right.
And like, I like that. Like, I love that. That makes me so happy. I love seeing that. And that gives me a lot of confidence heading into the playoff.
Yeah. Yeah. Mine's kind of similar too. I think mature. I think we've matured a lot. I think we've grown
Yep.
up a lot. I think this is a team that has practiced. You continue to hear Kirby say we're practicing well. It's a team that's bought into the fact of, we know how we look, but we're not accepting that as the final end all look, right?
Yep. Yep.
And I think we've shown that. I think from a defensive line perspective, we've grown up. From an offensive line perspective, we've seen some people get healthy, and then the people that had to be in there and grow up and win some big games have been players that have now become players we can depend on. When you look at the receivers, you look at the injuries there and the possibilities. It's just a high possibility of being able to get some of these guys back. What does that, where does that put us? With if a Taylor Taylor gets back in there, which I don't know how much we'll see of him, but if a Kobe Young can, they very mundane about all this, and it will be, it will
Yep.
Bobo. I mean, I'm hearing Bobo's out for the year, but I'm also hearing a lot of people report that's not true, and so, but you're not going to hear anything about this. You're gonna hear every team in the playoff prepare for everybody we've got, and they're not going to get a solidified answer. They'll get an injury report, but guess what? They don't get that injury report until week of, and for
Yep.
28 days before that, they got to practice as if these guys are there,
That's right.
and the news media outlets are actually helping that cause. So when you look at the playoffs, let's dive into the playoff bracket. Let's look at some keys to how Georgia can get through this bracket, and then obviously we're going to end up fishing. We're going to pick these games. Some games on Friday, some games on Saturday. But I have these broken down into kind of like a tier one, tier two, tier three type thing, right?
Hmm.
I think of title capable. These are the SEC and Big Ten elites that we're going to call them for per se. Tier two, and this is not a lot of these are what I'm calling them. So per se. The reason I say that is because I'm not jinxing them. This is the national media calling it this. And the tier
That's right.
twos are like the dangerous, right? The high-powered offenses with defensive questions, and then the three are the dark horses, the teams that can steal one game but need help to win it all. And I will add one thing is I think adding to tier two being dangerous is maybe high-powered defenses with offenses that may have questions, and I'm sure you know who I'm talking about when we break this down. But as we look at the bracket, I have I'm trying to pull this bracket up right here because it's acting funny when I squeeze it together. It's acting weird. Um, when I look at here it is. When I look at, for instance, the tier ones, I think of Georgia, I think of Indiana, and I think of Ohio State. Would you disagree with any of that? I mean, I think that's kind of what you look at as the elites. I don't know if Texas Tech has had to show us enough, even though they've been impressive. I don't know if they've had to show us enough to maybe, be what we would call an elite team. Would you agree
Yes,
with those
definitely, 100%. Yep.
And
No
then
changes.
and then the second one, as far as dangerous, right? I think you look at these teams as like, I think Texas Tech has a pretty dangerous offense. Questions on defense, right? I think, I think Oklahoma fits into that dangerous category for the opposite reason. Shown they've had a great defense, still wondering if the offense and what they're going to have to do offensively to get through a very hard, top bracket. Starting out, a home game, but it's a game you've beaten Alabama, and we know how hard that can be to
Yep.
beat a team twice.
Yep.
And so I would consider Oklahoma in that. Is there another team that you would say is? I mean, I would say dangerous would be A&M because wouldn't you say, Fish, that you feel like A&M's more of a 5 seed than they are a 7? I mean, they went undefeated all year. They were the cream of the crop of the SEC, and then they lost to Texas, and it's like they got forgotten about. Agree or disagree?
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think that has a little bit to do with the way they got beat because Texas could have scored 2 more touchdowns if they wanted to. I feel like,
Right.
and I think that game. I think that's why. And they're right. They're right there. But yeah, I would definitely put them as a tier two.
Yeah. I feel like I'm messing with my back right here. I'm gonna turn it off. I do feel like that they're tier two. They're dangerous. But the crazy thing is I think what becomes the dangerous part is the defense. But now you have Colin Klein, who's not going to be calling plays for them, right? So this is a new
Yep.
offensive play caller. This is a guy that's on staff, and so if I would say that they may get Le'Veon Moss back, but this is the team that if they're going to have a trouble on one side of the ball, it's going to be the offensive side because you got a new play caller. You have seen A&M at times struggle to do things early on in the game to make the offense match the defense, but have been able to pull some victories out, kind of a
Yep.
la Georgia at the end. So I do assume that they'd be in that mix too. I think Ole Miss is in that dangerous category. Really good offense, but they are 13th in the SEC in run defense, right? So I think
Yeah.
they have an opportunity to be dangerous, but at what cost, right?
Yep.
Would you think? Here's my early question on this. Do you think even after a 35-point victory to Tulane early in the year, do you think this game against Tulane is close, being at home? Don't make your prediction yet, but do you think it's
Uh,
close?
it could be.
Yeah.
It could be. Tulane's going to have to come out firing on all cylinders. They're going to have to come out with a different scheme, to because Ole Miss knows what they're going to do,
Right.
and like they're gonna have to come up with a new plan, and like everybody's going to have to be on the same page, and it's going to have to be clicking. Like they're going to have a better game than they've had all year.
Yeah. So you would agree with me that Ole Miss, A&M, Texas Tech,
Yep.
and A&M, Ole Miss, Texas Tech. Now, here's and Oklahoma. Now, here's the
Yeah.
two bubbles, right? Is Alabama? I mean, this is a tough one. Alabama's a tough one for me, right? Because they've shown they really had an inability to run the football, and I feel like their passing game is taking a little bit of a hit since the first 4 weeks of the season. First 4 weeks, Ty
Mhm.
Simpson looked unstoppable in that Ryan Grubb offense. But I'm just feeling like Alabama has to be very gimmicky in some ways. I mean, every time there's a third and short or a fourth and got to get an inch or a yard, it's always some crazy have to be creative handoff to a wide receiver or throwing to a tackle or something like that to be able to get a yard they need, right? So my
Yeah,
thing
yeah.
is but also I've looked at Alabama give up a lot of yards in the run game on defense. So my question
Mhm.
is like, I mean, I know it's mighty Alabama, and Alabama could surely make a run. I don't know if they can make a run if they can't run the football in the playoffs. But like, are they scarily enough more? Would it come down to more of a? I want to make sure I get this right. Would they be more of a dark horse with what they have kind of in the tank, or are they dangerous? Are they dangerous still? That's a big question. What do you think, Fish?
I think there's too many question marks for them to be dangerous. I think they're definitely a dark horse. Which team's going to show up? Which Ty Simpson's going to show up? All right, now why with Ryan Williams and number 15 and that other
Yep.
guy? I can't think of his
Yeah.
name.
So you got Horton, you got Jeremy Bernard. Yeah.
Yeah. So, why all of a sudden is that not clicking like it was? And I understand, football is a game of momentum and, ups and downs, ebbs and flows. I understand all that. But, like, what changed? What happened?
Right.
Our defense is just sitting back on the pass, because Georgia was rushing five or six sometimes. And, like, we were, and I know that's pressure, but, first part of the season, Ty Simpson seemed like he could just whip that ball to one of those guys real quick, like, and doesn't matter who was coming at him, didn't matter how many guys he had in his face,
Right.
But now, like, is it a more is it? I feel like it might be a mental thing with him,
Uh huh.
you
Yeah.
know. Like I think he's just I don't know, like trying to think too fast, trying to do too much because of the pressure of not having a good solid run game, to take the pressure off of him.
Yeah.
Maybe that's getting to him a little bit, and I know
Yeah.
this is all known stuff, but I mean, I don't
No,
know, but I think
I
there's too many
agree.
question marks for them to be dangerous.
I agree. It's definitely very very. It's hard because I don't know that anybody looks at Alabama and goes, well, we. I mean, this is why I think they're favored against Oklahoma very barely is because
Cannot believe that.
I think that they feel like that their offense is better than Oklahoma, that they have the edge on offense. And I think they have a bigger edge on offense, they feel like, because Oklahoma can't run the ball either. So they feel like they have a big enough edge on offense to make them a favorite, and they feel like the defense is even though Oklahoma's a little bit better on defense, and I say they're a lot better on defense. Oklahoma's defense is elite this year.
Hmm.
I think that when you look at special teams getting in there, but I would say that Oklahoma's special teams probably takes the tape in that. They have a really great kicker at Oklahoma,
Yeah, they do.
who
Yep.
probably is going to need to kick about 4 or 5 field goals in the playoffs if they're gonna win games.
Absolutely.
But like I agree, I think they're going to be dark horses more than dangerous. And then the last team that I think you got to be concerned with that fit in there. Do you put Miami in the dangerous category or do you put them into the dark horse category? Because for me,
What's number four? What's category? What's tier four?
they're I mean,
No, I
yeah,
mean they're right there with Bama as far as like what team's going to show up, which Carson Beck's going to show up, because we know he can make all the throws, but will he?
yeah,
You
yeah.
know, like will he? What Carson Beck is going to show up?
Isn't it funny that the same thing that possibly is going to enable Carson Beck to win what has enabled him to win the big games is the inability to figure out how to run the ball. It's so very what's the word for it? Groundhog Day-ish, man, because like I
Yeah,
feel we talked about it last year. We looked at the offensive line from last year and we felt like we had a very strong offensive line last year. Why couldn't we run the ball last
yep,
year? We relied on the pass a lot. Now you got a Miami offensive line that me and you both said at the beginning of the year that looks like a top 3 offensive line, not in the
easy.
ACC, the SEC, in college football. That looks like one of the best lines in
Yep.
college football. That college football, I mean that offensive line could start in the NFL. But the
Not
inability to run the
exactly,
ball,
dude.
yeah, the inability to run the ball and have a go-to receiver. I mean, like, don't you have that feeling that if Texas A&M just goes, we're just not giving, we're not going to allow you to give the ball to Malachi Tony, and we're going to make you run the
I
ball
mean,
and figure out if the other receivers can catch the ball.
I was just about to say that, dude. If they take him out of the game, then that's what's Miami going to do?
Right.
Like that's their whole offense, man. Even a friend of mine that I play video games with, he lives up in Maine, and I'm his friend on PlayStation. We play some games together and whatnot. This man is a huge hockey fan, does not watch football, okay? But a couple of weeks ago, or yeah, after that last Miami game, he was like, dude, it was like Tony, 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 Tony,
Uh-huh.
Tony. Like nobody else was getting touches. Nobody else was involved. Like that was their whole offense.
Right. Right.
Like they're not gonna make a run playing
Mhm.
like that. No way.
Yeah. Yeah. I put them in the dark horse. I mean, I have to. Have not shown the ability to run the football. Can Carson Beck win the game for them? Not in the ACC. I mean, they beat Notre Dame, but Notre Dame would have got in and been a 9 or 10, right? 9 or 10
Yeah,
uh,
yeah.
slate.
They'd have
So
probably been 10. Yeah.
yeah, so I would put them as dark horse, and obviously JMU and Tulane. You got to go. Well, we haven't really seen you play anybody, so unless you come out and you beat Oregon at Oregon, or Tulane beats Ole Miss at Ole Miss, then I don't know. I mean, I just can't put them in dangerous. I mean, is JMU dangerous from an offensive standpoint of view? Yeah, sure. Against a lot of defenses that don't even rank in the top 100, so I can't really give them that.
Exactly.
But interesting because it does come down to the fact of, when we look at how this bracket is kind of built, and we're going to really discuss it when we pick the games. But I look at it as, I was thinking to myself, what is Georgia's path, right, to a national championship? And a lot of dog fans are like, well, they're gonna, and I've seen it, right? And I'm in tons of Facebook groups. I've heard, I'm hearing tons of podcasts and things going on, but um, I, I have about 5 things down here that I just want to really hit before we make our picks tonight. My
Go
first thing,
for it.
I think, for Georgia to be able to produce a national championship this year is to continue to rely on the depth and to own the trenches, right? Fish, defensive depth, fourth quarter advantage, I think would be a +1 to any team, possibly even to Ohio State, because Ohio State has dealt with some injuries, and the inability for Ohio State to stop the run has been something that has been key, because I do think that
Mhm.
they're susceptible against the run. And then obviously the offensive line. I think the more we can protect Gunnar Stockton, we're going to see defenses, in my opinion, that, even though, when you look at things and the teams they play, whether it's the Big 12 or whether it's the ACC, you name it, the one thing that's out there is you can YouTube any game you want to and figure out how, and you can call coaches and go, well, how'd you play them? And I mean, I think everybody looked at how Tennessee played Alabama, and everybody said we're going to do it that way, and that might have been the
Mhm.
turning point of why Alabama has not done much,
Yeah.
because I do think Banks at Tennessee had a really good plan for them. But
Yeah.
talk to me a little bit about this. I mean, as far as in the trenches, like, how do you feel about how we look at the trenches? You know that it's always going to be, it's who wins. This is number one on my list. I didn't leave any, like, dun dun dun, drum rolls. This is it, number one on the list. You got to win in the trenches, offensive line, defensive line.
Yeah. Yeah. Defensive side of the ball has been playing lights out the past few weeks, and Christian Miller has come on like we all hoped he would. He is definitely the anchor, and Xavier McLeod has stepped his game up a lot too. Very very proud of him. Because I was excited about him getting him from South Carolina a couple years ago, but he didn't really have an impact last year.
Right.
But this year, the man has definitely made a huge difference.
Yeah,
And
I
as
agree.
far as that goes, on offense, you got to think Monroe Freeling is kind of the big. What are we going to get? Which Monroe is going to show up? You know, is it going to be Sugar Bowl last year against Notre Dame, the guy that was getting cooked every play?
Yeah.
Got sacked right before gave up that sack to Gunner right before halftime, which that fumble Notre Dame got that late touchdown, which kind of sealed the game I think for them. Um, but yeah, dude, it's we if we get the right Monroe, which is funny because he plays on the left side, but if we get the right Monroe, I think the offensive line is going to be great, and I think Gunner's going to have a good chance to have a great game.
Well said. Love it. I agree. Monroe Freeling. Man, what does a 30-day healthy Ernest Green look like too, though? Right? That would be
Yep.
huge. What is a 30-day Micah Morris healthy, wind under their sails? I look for this offensive line. I don't want to, and I know mentally it's going to be driven in their heads about the fact of you got to buy last year. You had X amount of days. You can't come out. I don't think I'm not worried about that really at all. A lot of people are already talking about that, but I'm not
Mm-mm.
really worried about it. Quarterback play, obviously. Protecting the ball. We did see Gunner, and I think maybe it was more of Gunner trying to make some things happen. Maybe the coaches were saying, "Hey, you know, give a shot at some things happening, take some chances. We're willing to deal with it if we are able to create some confidence in you making some throws in tough situations." But protecting the
Yep.
ball, obviously converting third downs, which Georgia's been, his legs have been a huge, have come into play a lot on third down. But also Bobo's play schemes with the ability for Stockton to run the ball has given Bobo a lot of great
Yep.
opportunities to make some really great third, fourth down calls. And then big throws
Heck
when
yeah.
when the defense sells out. We saw it in the SEC championship, man. Gunner made Cade Womack is a guy who is a bust or bust type thing. I mean, he wants the defense is gonna get there, or the defense is
Yep.
not, and he doesn't care. And we were able to make some really good throws when he did that, which was a difference this time around. I think Gunner looked here in the headlights when Alabama came to Athens and Cade Womack sent 8, 9. I mean, Fish, he sent 8, 9 guys sometime. I mean, it was literally three,
Yeah.
four people playing in a zone going, we are betting on our blitzers to get there before you can even get a read. And he was right sometimes. It is hard.
Yep.
But
Yep.
I mean, I have quarterback play second. Want to speak into that a little bit as far as just keys to victory for Georgia in the playoffs?
Well, I mean, what you were to add on to what you're saying, I think that all that stuff helped Gunner.
Right.
I think, and this is a testament to the SEC and the type of talent we see week to week, man. And which is why I think 9 conference games and not playing and playing 3. I hate this phrase, but cash for clunker games. I hate that phrase,
Mhm.
but I don't know what else to say right now. I think that we still could have some teams with like the toughest number 1, 2, 3 ranked strength schedule just because of the gauntlet that is the SEC, and we're going 9 games next year, man. That's tough.
Yeah.
That's tough. I don't care who
Yeah.
you are. There's not an easy out. Maybe Arkansas, Kentucky, you know, but
Yeah.
Arkansas is going to be much improved next year. And I hate to say that, Grant. Don't shoot me. Don't shoot me. I'm
Right.
sorry. I'm just spitting facts. Just facts right now. I'm sorry. But you know, he just, I think he's grown up a lot. He's learned a lot, and this is definitely not the same guy starting in New Orleans this year that started last year. Not the same guy. Not even close.
Yeah.
Much improved.
Yeah. I think hit the nail on the head. Like I think you're right. I think Gunner learned a lot from what he was presented with, and it was as far as the regular season is concerned, it really is the quarterback who can learn under fire and win under fire early because you got to be able to win those games, right? Like you would love to
Yep.
know that I can go, oh well, I can lose 5 or 6 games at the beginning of the year and make, but it doesn't work that way. You got to find a way to get those wins, and you know, Gunner, I think Gunner's shown us one thing this year, and we said at the beginning of the year, we don't need someone who goes out there and wins with their arm or their legs. We need somebody to distribute the football, not be predictable, give us an opportunity to get the ball to the playmakers. And they're playmakers all over the field. We can win it with our tight ends. We can win it
Yep.
with our wide receivers. We can win it with our running backs. We can win it with Gunner's legs,
Yep.
arm. Defense can win. I mean, it really is. He's done the job that we needed him to do as far as distributing the football. We talked a lot about it at the beginning of the year.
Yep.
Um, third thing I have down is defense wins championships, and this is not that kind of vanilla statement. Obviously, we know that, right? But I think when you look at the red zone, I think we're going to see ourselves against some teams who are going to be, a little bit more precise in the red zone. But then again, you look at an Ole Miss who, once again, is that's a problem for them, right? It's been a problem all year for them. They're more liable to score on a 70-yard TD pass than they are in the red zone. They're 13th in the SEC in the red zone, right? Tackling, man.
Yep.
I mean, once again, I'm not going to wood with everything I say, but the tackling has been really, really good, man. And then pressure.
With
Go
authority.
ahead. Yeah, yeah,
With authority, dude. Like them boys aren't playing right now.
yeah,
I mean, like they are going out there with bad intentions.
yeah,
And CJ Allen should have got more votes for defender of the year, like the Nagurski or whatever it is. I'm sorry.
yeah,
I don't care who you are.
yeah,
That man and Raylan, we have the two best inside linebackers in the country. I don't care who you are. Fight me.
yeah, yeah,
But that's a fact, dude. And
yeah.
and our out just all right. I'm gonna stop, but I could keep going. But
No, I agree. I agree,
it's
man. It's
it's
it's it,
legit, dude.
it's when we've even seen plays hit, it's the ability to not let some of these plays go, an extra 10 or 15 or 20 yards that have been so
Yep.
incredible. I mean, the ability to stop the run. I mean, you're not going. We're going to speak. We're just going to speak confidently in the off season and just understand that superstition is not going to be a part of our life. Okay. And the
Exactly.
last thing I will say is you know forcing bad decisions. I think is something that's going to have to be in our favor come to get us through the playoffs. We're going to have to force some teams to make bad decisions. Um, I mean, we already have been in one of those scenarios this year where sacks have come at at a all time low for Georgia this year, right? Interceptions have come at all time low, both improving statistics throughout the year for us. But this is going to
Yep.
be a group of teams that are coming in that perform at an elite level, that protect the ball much better, and their offensive line play is going to be a lot better. And so we're going to continue to have to be very creative with our looks. We're going to have to force them to make bad decisions because I don't think they're going to throw directly to, some of our, DBs like Ty Simpson did in the SEC championship. I just don't think it's going to happen. And then for time's sake, I have two last things, and one is like obviously the Kirby Smart edge. You look at the ability to adjust week to week, experience in pressure games, culture. I think that's a huge plus that can get Georgia. I mean, everybody will always say, you always hear people say, well, they got Kirby Smart, right? Kirby Smart is always a +1 to a +5 on anything you're scoring. And then,
Yep.
margins of games, special teams, turnover margins. And, Kirby likes to call it first five, last five. So, last five of the first half, first five of the second half, right? Very important and very crucial points of the game. Why? I think if we all remember last year against Notre Dame, what could have been if we don't make the mistakes that we had before, you know, the end of the half with throwing the interception, things of that nature. And so, Fish, anything that I had these five things on there, but is there anything else that's really jumping out at you that you go, hey, we got to do this to be able to succeed and be back in a national championship game this year?
Just no. All this is exactly what I would have said. I mean, it's that's absolutely right. I mean, these are all keys, and this is, you know, turnovers. As long as we don't turn the ball over, like we got a shot. We'll be in these games. As long as we don't give up free points, we'll be fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, uh, my friend, let's hop into these game previews. Let's preview everything for an interesting weekend of college football. We'll get to see some. I mean, there's been some great bowl games already. Looks like, man, Old Dominion is giving South Florida everything they would want and need. I think we're in the fourth now, right? Old Dominion's up
Yep.
7. If I'm seeing it correctly.
Yep. Yep.
Wild, man.
Yep.
Wild, wild,
17-10.
wild.
Yes, sir.
Let's hop in here and grab this schedule here, and I had it pulled up, but it shut. it off. All right.
Now, I'm super excited for Bama, Oklahoma, man. Oh my God!
It's gonna be a
Friday
good
night
game, man.
playoff game, 8 o'clock. Oof.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good game, man. Let's start there. Even though it's the first game of the weekend. You got a 3-game slate on Saturday, and so we hop there. A little preview, really quick. Right now, looks like the line shifted. A little bit. Fish. So 2 days ago, it was Bama. Uh, it was Bama -1.5. And right now it's shifted to Oklahoma. So Oklahoma is favored by 1.5. Now, I don't know what changed. Maybe the Kalen DeBoer to Michigan rumors have said this is distracting enough to where he can't get a bid though. But Fish, really quick before we pick it, let's preview. So you look at Oklahoma. It's been a year for Oklahoma where you thought this would you knew that Oklahoma's defense would be good this year. Brett Venables has posted a good defense the last 2 years. Obviously, they went out, got John Mateer, got Brett Arbuckle from Washington State. We thought this Jaden Ott from Cal. We thought this offense would be high powered, but they've shown signs of trying to score and not being very successful. As a matter of fact, their kicker has been more successful than John Mateer in their offense. Then you flip the page to Alabama,
That's so
who
bad.
is showing some of the same consistencies. Defense has been doing a pretty good job. At the beginning of the year, you would have thought this Alabama team was going right back to the national championship. Ty Simpson was performing at a high level. They were running the ball well enough with Jam Miller and the offensive line to at least not be a liability in that. And the defense was playing at a high level. So, what stands out to you about these two teams? What do you think are some weaknesses, some strengths on how each team's going to get to a victory in this game?
Bama, I don't know, is going to have to develop a run game, or else Oklahoma's too good a defense to let somebody who with that kind of run game, or lack thereof, I should say, to let that team beat them. Like
Yeah,
our Ty Simpson's going to have to come out there and just sling. He's going to have to throw for 400 yards.
yeah.
But I don't see that happening against that defense. I really don't. And is 32 going to be there for Oklahoma? Palmer, whatever his name is, that edge rusher.
I
Is he
haven't heard of
healthy?
any major
I know he had a
injuries for
quad,
Oklahoma.
because he had that quad problem the first time they played, and he didn't play, and they still won on the road in Tuscaloosa, a place where nobody wins. Um,
Right. Yeah,
so
I'm looking at
it's
injury reports and I don't see his name on here. So maybe he's at least
okay.
he's questionable
That's
maybe because
trouble.
these are the outs.
That's trouble.
Yeah.
That's just trouble for Bama,
Yeah.
dude, and Ty Simpson. I don't know what they're going to do. I
So
don't
what
know. Jam Miller ain't going to make that much of a difference.
so what's going to be which team's going to have to do what to come out on top in this game on Friday night? Like what is going to be
Bama's
the
going to have to run the ball.
differentiator? Bama's going to have to run the ball. Okay. I can agree with that. I would say to an extent that this might come down fish to special teams, right? We've seen Alabama's kicker be absolutely horrendous at times, and we see Oklahoma, who has one of the
Yep.
best kickers in the country, right? You would think
Yep.
that these two teams it's gonna be a close game because neither one of them possibly can pull away unless you just have an offense. I mean, excuse me, a defense from Oklahoma that just you don't even recognize on Friday. Um, and here's
Yep.
another question: What do you think? How many points do you think it's going to take either team to score to seal a victory? Like, what is the point? Like, is it 20? Is it 24? Is it 30? I mean, what do you think the winning team's got to score to win the game?
17.
Wow,
I mean,
wow.
I
I mean,
mean,
Indiana
it's
can
gonna.
win with
I mean,
13,
there's
but
too many. There's just way too many questions on either side of the ball, like on the offensive side of the ball for both teams. There's just way too many questions. And like that's why I don't think there's going to be a lot of touchdowns. Like you said, special teams, kicker versus kicker, maybe punter versus punter, who can flip the field the most. It's going to be an ugly game. It's going to be one of those backyard 10-yard fight games, man.
I'll be honest with you. I don't think Alabama needs to waste any time with trying to put a front on that they can run the football. They don't have downs like that to waste. Like they don't have downs like that to waste.
Yep.
If I were
Yep.
Alabama and knowing that Oklahoma, your best player on the field on offense are what your receivers and your quarterback, right? You got to look at Isaiah Horton. You got to look at I think the tight end's name that was not in the Georgia game. I think it's Cuevas is his name. You got to look at Ryan Williams, although
Yep.
Ryan Williams, the drop off of Ryan Williams needs to be studied. That guy, I mean, I don't know what's going on with him, man, but I will just tell you, man, it needs to be studied. And then obviously Jeremy Bernard.
Yeah.
When you look at this team, man, I think I think if you're Kalen DeBoer and Ryan Grubb, you go, I'm, if Ty Simpson doesn't throw the ball 40 times in this game, they don't win. They don't win. I'm gonna tell you like this: they're gonna have to throw the ball. No, I didn't say complete. Throw the ball 40 times to win this game, and I think you're gonna have to complete about 25 of those passes to win it. You're gonna go 25 for 40. It's a weird statistic, but I just think you're wasting downs. I mean, I would say that Georgia and Oklahoma's defense at times have looked to be as dominant, as dominant, as each other, depending on the situation at times, and that is saying a lot because I think Oklahoma has more between the two teams. Oklahoma has more talent on that side of the ball, and Georgia has more. I think just a better coaching philosophy and putting players in the right places and a lot of, and the only reason I say talent is depth. Older players. We have a lot of young guys in our defense that are becoming grown now, that are growing up a little bit. They're not pups anymore. But yeah, so we can babble about it all day. But Oklahoma's getting a point and a half. So Fish 8:00 Friday night. Oklahoma, Alabama. Who do you got, and what do you got for a score?
17-14, Boomer Sooner.
Boomer Sooner 17-14. I'm close with you, man. I'm close with you. I think it's going to take 20 points. I think it's going to take 20 points, and I think it's going to come down to, man, you're going to be like, this is wild, man. I think it's going to come down. It's going to be, I don't know, man. I think honestly, you could see about 3-4 field goals and one touchdown from Oklahoma, and that's enough. I think that's enough because out of the two offenses, I think the one that will struggle more in this game, because we're talking about big game capability in Alabama, I feel like they're going to be seasoned in this area. Oklahoma is not. They're not used to the postseason, right? So that gives Alabama a little edge, but I do think this is like a 20 to 10, 20 to 14 type game. And I do think Oklahoma can score 20 points and they can win the game. I do not think that Alabama, without a run game, can score more than 14 points against this team. I agree with you on the defense side. I think it's 20 to 14. And the only reason I say that is because there's a couple more extra field goals that get thrown in there. So I like Oklahoma in this one. And until and I'm not hating on Bama. I'm gonna try to be as true as I think these games will land. Oklahoma's defense is elite, so I would give them the edge as far as defense, and I would give Bama an edge on offense, but the edges are a little bit closer when it comes down to offense. I think Bama's offense and Oklahoma's offense is a little bit closer. So then you wake up on Saturday, December 20th at 12:00 noon, and we get Texas A&M 11-1 out of the SEC, the 7th-ranked team in the bracket, going against Miami. Coming to the only thing about this game, Fish, I'm going to give you the early presentation is this is a 12:00 noon game at Kyle Field, which thank God for Miami, right? This is not a night game at Kyle Field, but I think even if it's a night game, it's got Texas A&M maybe more in the 7.5 point favorite range, right? But I think it being a 12:00 game, it's Texas A&M 3.5. Really quick, if a team's going to win in this game, what are they going to have to do?
play defense, create turnovers, get at least 14 points off turnovers.
Okay.
I think that's going to be what it comes down to. I think there's a lot of opportunity for turnovers against A&M for Miami, and vice versa. Again, Carson Beck makes throws sometimes. He just looks, I don't know. And even in the games they blew with these other teams out, like the Virginia Tech game, like he's made some throws that you're just kind of like, what?
Right.
Like why?
Right.
And that's, and A&M and Miami are both going to have to cap.
Yeah. Do you feel like this game should have been? I don't know how they pick these time slots, but I do feel like this would have been a better slot for that 7:30 time. From what I'm hearing, it was actually a
Like
draw.
why not have two games on Friday and two games on Saturday?
Yeah, from what I
Yeah.
hear, it was a draw. I'm hearing too. It's
You know,
because if you throw the Oregon game out there on a Friday, you know, a lot of people they got to play it. If they're playing at 8 o'clock, that's at 11 o'clock. They're not going to play that game. It's 11 o'clock for prime time on Friday night, and they don't feel like that Ole Miss or Texas A&M game would have been a good Friday night game. A lot of it was just, I think it's got a lot to do with money, man, in these
yeah.
playoffs, right? Um, but yeah, man, I agree with you. I think who's going to play defense, who's going to run the football in this one. Miami doesn't have a running game. Texas A&M has enough of a running game. It has enough of a passing game. I think I agree with you. And Texas A&M's defense, I think, has a little bit of an edge on them. Home game, they're kind of pissed they didn't get that fifth seed. I think they're playing on that as well. Uh, but once again, we could beat it up all day. Who you got, Fish? Who you got, and what's the score? I you're lagging a little bit. I don't know if I got your pick, but Texas A&M. You have Texas A&M. You got Miami. Oh man, I lost Fish. I lost Fish on it on that pick, but I think you picked Texas A&M. I think you picked Texas A&M, and I'm going to pick Texas A&M too. I think when it comes down to it, I think that A&M just too tough on defense. I think of how third down defense for A&M has been something that has been crucial this year. They're not allowing a lot of points on third down, a lot of first downs on third down. The third down conversion rate is very, very low for opposing teams. And so, with that being said, that means, a team that can't really run the football in Miami, I think that bodes for a very tough game for them. And so, I'm going to give it to Texas A&M. I think they'll win this game. Um, if I had to come out there with a score, I think you're looking at like a touchdown, maybe a touchdown and a field goal, maybe six points. But I do think the team that wins is going to have to score at least 24 points. So I'm going to say 24. I'm going to say 24 17. Maybe that 24-17 um, gauge right there. So yeah. Uh, some reason slowing down. There we go. Caught up. Everything caught up. Technical difficulties tonight. Ole Miss, Tulane, 3:30 Saturday, 17 and a half going towards Ole Miss in this game. Not a lot to talk about. Keys to victory are simply this: can Ole Miss get out to a fast start? Would it be good for them to make this a game about a fast start and able to get some players off the field rested to make this next game feel more biased like some of these other teams got? It would be the key. This is in Ole Miss. This is a home game. The Grove will be hopping. Everybody will be, including the team, will be pissed. They'll be playing for, the fact that they don't have a head coach anymore, and you still got Charlie Weiss Jr. You got a guy in Pete Golding who wants to make a name for himself in this game, and so this is going to be a tough game for Tulane. I do think Ole Miss wins this game, but I think it's closer than it was in the regular season. Tulane will have a little take on what they did last year, but when it comes down to talent alone, Ole Miss kind of owns this side of it. I think Ole Miss wins. We'll bring it down a little bit. I'm gonna give it 13 points. I think a 40 a 40-27 type game will probably happen. I think Tulane will be able to score, but 40 points. Give me 40 points for Ole Miss. They'll score 40-27. Ole Miss will prevail. And then the 7:30 game in Eugene, Oregon, James Madison. Right now, Oregon favored 21 at home. Um, Tough game. This is a tough game to call. You think James Madison's going to be pumped up? They come in with an offense that can score points, but you got to look at some of these G5 teams and go, man, can they do it against defenses like they've never seen before this year, right? A lot more to play for. It's a playoff game. Kind of reminds you of one of these, which one of these teams can hop in there, kind of Cinderella-ish. Maybe it's James Madison. I don't know. Does Oregon deserve the fifth spot, or did A&M deserve the fifth spot? Who knows, type thing. But I got Oregon in this one. I don't know once again if they cover. I'm scared to give them a cover on this, but I do think Oregon gets it maybe by like 13, maybe 10 or 13 points. I think this is a closer game. I think they pull out late. I think James Madison's able to show some offense. And it's just all going to be about if James Madison can stop Oregon's defense. I mean, I'm sorry, if James Madison's defense can stop Oregon's offense. But I'm going to give it 10 or 13 points, just for sake of being more of the Cinderella than Tulane. I do think Oregon can score 31. So give me 31-21 Oregon. They'll move on, and that'll set up a bracket possibly that looks like this. Oregon, in turn, will be playing the winner. It looks like Oregon will be playing Oklahoma. My apologies. It goes into the. Let me not even try to do that. It goes into the bracket of the buys. We're not going to do that yet. So, but yeah, it's going to be a great. It's going to be a great day. Actually, I do have that, so to be determined. But it's going to be a great day, and the game Friday night is going to be incredible. And the weekend games are going to be awesome too. It's a great way to start off the Christmas holiday week. And yeah, so for dog fans, I hope you guys are having an incredible holidays. Still just basking in the win against Alabama for the SEC championship, but well moved on from it from right now, and preparing for who we play on New Year's Day in New Orleans in the Sugar Bowl, and taking in the games this weekend before Christmas Day. So we will probably more than likely not go live next week, but if we do, uh, we will let everyone know. But if we don't, I hope everybody has a great weekend of college football watching, and I hope everybody has a great week of spending time with family and celebrating Christmas. Jesus being the reason for the season. And as always, here at Dogs Down South, we hope you have great holidays, a Merry Christmas, and go Dogs.